Here we go again. Oh, Sainers, how's it going? Hope you've all had a good week so far. G'day Zane, hope you're going well, mate. Comment your thoughts. The teams are out. Pretty controversial, a lot of negative comments already. We'll wait for a few more people to tune in and then we can talk about it. But genuinely, guys, let me know your thoughts, good or bad. Go through the teams and we'll answer it. A few question marks there from a selection point of view. A few people already commenting about a few players that are pretty lucky to be playing this week, and particularly one player that's very, very unlucky not to be playing. Bradley, Godfather, mate. Hope you're going well. Yep, Declan Bytel gets dropped, but not Butler or Loney. No, to be fair, Loney was dropped too. I think he's probably going to be the emergency for the game, but I feel like dropping Loney over Butler, a bit stiff. I'm a big fan of Butler, as you guys know, but even on the podcast, we talk about at least Loney, when he's not kicking goals, he's getting 15 possessions. He's trying to work his way into the game. He tries to lay tackles, pressure the opposition. He plays with his heart on his sleeve, and with Butler, it's basically if he doesn't kick a goal, he's not really doing anything on the ground. But all week, the media, myself, Marshy, Joycey, you guys, we've all talked about the chances of, big names being dropped. And, there are a few names flying around, particularly Butler, Higgins, a few people still, thinking that Brad Hill might get dropped. I knew for a fact that Brad Hill was never going to get dropped this week, simply because they had the chance earlier in the year and they didn't do it. And his form's better now, and it would make no sense to drop him now. It wouldn't be on current form, it would have been on 3 weeks ago. So Brad Hill was always safe. A few players, even Josh Battle, I thought was a chance to be dropped. Seb Ross, he's playing his 150th, but I thought even he was a chance to actually miss out and to make way for a Dunstan. The fact that we keep someone like Seb Ross in the lineup and then we sacrifice a future star in Jack Bytel, who's been doing very well at AFL level. He had, I think, 15 disposals last week, and he only played 58% of the game. He only played half the game, and he had 15 possessions. There were players on the field, and I'm not going to name names, that played 70, 80, 90% of the game and did fuck all. They didn't get the ball. They didn't get near the ball. So I don't know what message it's sending someone like Bytel, or it's like, you're the future, you're doing everything we want from you, but there's players that, we're going to bring in and you're going to make way, and it just doesn't make sense. The Hunter Clark one, for anyone that doesn't know, he's listed as injured with a groin injury. So to me, that just rings of, let's get someone that's got a minor injury out so we can say, well, we couldn't drop Butler because Hunter Clark was injured. We didn't want to drop too many, starting 18 players. And that they're just playing the media, the media storm there. They're trying to deflect a little bit, and that's what they did during the week with Lethland doing his press conference instead of Rats. Bassett, president, coming out and sending a email to all of us and trying to get us to calm down and deflect from Rats. And now selection is similar. We're resting someone like Hunter Clark, who supposedly got a groin injury. Haven't heard anything. There were no injuries out of the game from last week, so this must have happened on the track. Or it's all bullshit and they're just saying it's a groin injury just to drop him so they can't drop someone like Butler. Because if Hunter Clark is playing, there's another big name that goes. And I'm not counting Hunter Clark as one of the big names to be dropped. The biggest name to be dropped in our team right now, who is it? Bytel would be the biggest name to be dropped, officially dropped. Loney, it's a bit hard, but Higgins wasn't going to be dropped, even though his form was down. He's our highest goal kicker for the year, I think. And the other one would have been Butler, but it's not to be. The others were predictable. Frawley injured, apparently, and McKernan injured. I just noticed this, guys. They're both listed as injured. Are they not? Do we not even have the balls as a club to just drop players and say, you're dropped because you're not good enough? We have to list them as injured so their pride, they can keep a bit of their pride? That's a bit much. You know, the only two there that are listed as omitted are Bytel and Loney. Both of which are pretty stiff, because Butler should be for Loney, and there's plenty other options instead of Jack Bytel. So, I don't know. I don't know about this selection. We should beat North either way if we turn up. If we don't, you know, it's going to be a hard review. It's going to be a big one to go through after the game. But on paper, we obviously should beat North. They've only got one out. I think they're changing their emergency, Charlie Lazaro. And then for the rest of it, you know, they're pretty much the starting 22 that got done by 12 goals last week against Essendon. So for us, I guess Rats is really firmly of the belief that he wants to back players that are out of form to get back into form. And I was an advocate of that earlier in the year, but I don't see how you can go from, you know, round 3 and 4, you know, to being like, all right, we're going to give them a few more weeks to find form, and if they don't, they're dropped. And then 3 or 4 weeks go by, you lose by over 16 goals, and then you still keep them in the team. What message does that send? Hey guys, you just lost by 111 points. You didn't touch the ball, Butler. You didn't get close to doing anything on that ground, but you're going to play again. I don't know. We wanted big names, and maybe Rats was always going to go against that and debut someone and drop a few lesser likes like Loney and Bytel. But when they're the two that are giving it, you know, they're actually making Saints fans proud. You know, they're two players that you look at and you're like, okay, well, they're playing for the jumper. They're playing for their teammates. And then there's other blokes that aren't doing that, not even close, and they get rewarded by staying in the team. I just think that's very unfair. So this is probably the most animated I've been in a preview. This feels like I'm reviewing a loss, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. This wasn't quite what I wanted. I wanted at least one genuine player that was a starting 18 player from last year that needed to be dropped. But it is what it is. It's not going to change. So yeah, we'll go through it in full. For anyone that's just tuned in, the ins, Luke Dunstan, rewarded after 3 or 4 weeks of dominating VFL level. We know what we're going to get from Luke Dunstan. He's going to go hard at the ball. We just hope that his kicking's on point. He's been very good at VFL level, and it would have made no sense to not bring him in for this game. Mason Wood, again, a similar player to Dunstan in that he's had a few AFL chances this year and not really made the most of them. But again, his form was too good in the VFL to ignore. It would have made no sense again to have a player getting 30 every week at the VFL level and then saying we need to make wholesale changes and then not bring him in. So you need to reward good form, whether it's a player that we think is going to be a good player in the AFL or not. He's done all he can at VFL level to get a game, and he's rewarded. So that's only fair. Nick Caulfield has been out for a couple of weeks. He's been a bit down. I'm hearing that he's not really very happy with his own personal treatment at the club. That remains to be seen whether it's, you know, completely accurate, but that wouldn't surprise me with him being dropped and being in and out of the team after such a good season last year. But he's back. Highmore, I think, is still in the team as well. So this is the first time we're going to see Caulfield, Highmore, and Claverino in the same team. They're all tall intercept markers, but you think that maybe Frawley going out, that means that someone is going to have to take a tall pillar. That could well be Clav and get him going there, while Caulfield and Highmore can play that more intercept sort of style of game that they're more accustomed to. And then obviously that's the last in. Claverino, I think he's picked 35 in 2017. He was highly touted, to be honest. He's put on, I think, 11 kilos in the last couple of years or the last year. So he's getting to the size where he can compete at AFL level on some big players in the back line, opposition forward. So he's been pretty good at VFL level and was rewarded. So I'm excited to see how he goes. He wasn't the one I thought we'd go with. I genuinely thought we'd go with Leo Connolly and drop another mid. But Claverino comes in, it'll be good to see how he goes against the North Melbourne forwards. The outs, Hunter Clark injured with a groin, Jack Bytel stupidly omitted, Jack Loney unfairly omitted, and then you've got Frawley and McKernan both listed as injured. Not entirely sure what those injuries are. And then Seb Ross playing his 150th. So congratulations to Seb. I think you're a bit lucky to be playing your 150th this week, mate. But nonetheless, hopefully you have a massive one and help us get the win on the weekend. So that's the team. I'm going to go straight into the comments because I know there's a lot of people commenting and a bit upset about what's going on with the club, the ins and outs particularly, and just in general, what the hell's going on. So let's go from the top and see what you guys are thinking. Hopefully this doesn't set Bytel too far back. That's from Daniel. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can there's players that will cop the drop on, being omitted on the chin and go back to the AFL level and have a massive game and force their way back into the lineup. Or there are going to be players that just put their heads down and go, God, well, this is unfair. I'm not going to try anymore, and just give it up and kind of whinge about it. I take Bytel as the sort of guy that's going to knuckle down and have, very good VFL numbers and make it very hard for the coaches to drop him again. To be fair, I thought he'd already done that at AFL level, and I thought he was very safe this week with Ryan Burns, but maybe it's the fact that Clav's coming in for his first game. Burns is already in the team. You don't want to have too many youngsters under 10 games experience, and maybe that's the only reason why he was dropped, but I don't buy that. I think they just didn't want to drop another big name, and Bytel was the next in line. So that's my take on it. Mitchell is clarifying that Hunter Clark got injured during the game last week and went down to the rooms. I don't remember seeing that. Sorry about that. But I remember in the press conference after the game, Ratton said there were no injuries to report. So they probably didn't think it was as serious as what it was. Or, again, he could have played through it. Painkillers, whatnot. Players do it all the time. And they thought, well, we'll drop him this week, give him the week off and bring in someone like Clav or Dunstan, these sort of guys to excuse dropping another big name. So who knows? It could have been both reasons. McKernan's injured with a toe injury, apparently. That's from McKernan toe. That's from Downey. Or did he injure taking a set shot last week? Is that what happened? Aaron says, God putting Geary back in the team was the worst decision, but it's the theme of St Kilda putting him in a position he's so bad at as well. You'd think that he has to play in the back line. Where have we got him listed in the lineup? Yeah, he's at half back. So he's basically playing where Hunter Clark was roaming last week, and he has done for the last year or two at half back with Sinclair and Highmore there. So I don't mind that. I didn't like seeing him start on a wing last week, so hopefully he goes back to just playing his normal game on the weekend, but he really needs to lift. He wasn't great last week, and I'm just going to cut him some slack because it was his first game back from a broken leg in months. So you give him that, but no excuses on the weekend for anyone in that lineup. Not one excuse I want to hear if they play poorly. Caroline says, let's hope they turn up ready to play. Look, with no crowd, anything's possible now. We played so well in Noosa last year in the hub. We excelled, unlike a lot of teams that had problems being away from family. Their families hated being away from them. We had such a young team that we didn't have to worry about those issues, and we bonded. The team got closer, and we played that way on field. We were a very close-knit team. This year, it's the exact opposite. So this could be a blessing in disguise. I'm almost hoping that this lockdown setup lasts longer, and I believe that we're already looking at moving the Sydney game next week. That was going to be originally at Marvel. It's going to be played in Sydney. So whether we can get a crowd there or not, I don't know, but that's what I'm hearing as well. So we'll have the weekend at Marvel with no crowd, move next week's game to Sydney, then we fly straight from Sydney to Cairns, and then we have the bye, and then after that, back at the MCG for a couple of games against Richmond and Collingwood, but we don't know what's going to happen, in a week's time, let alone in 4 weeks' time. So we'll have to wait and see what the AFL announce by then. Rachel has got to feel bad for Loney and Bytel. Yeah, I think we all do. We all agree that it's unfair. They both tried their hearts out last week. They've done so in a lot of our bad losses this season. They were definitely not the two that I would have picked to be dropped. I had a feeling Loney was going to go before Butler just because we just don't look like we want to drop big names. We didn't do it with Hill, and I just didn't have a feeling we were going to do it with Butler this week either. So very unfortunate, but it was sadly predictable of the club to handle it that way. I really thought they were going to grow some balls and drop some big names, and especially against North, where you can probably risk dropping a Butler and still getting the win. It's not like we're playing Geelong or Brisbane this week. It's a game where you could probably afford to play a few fresh faces and still be more than competitive. No offense to North, but that's just where they're at. But maybe they really do believe that North can challenge us with the form that we're in, and they need to keep the team that they think is our best 18, despite form, our best 18 on paper, and hopefully they get the win. If they don't, if Butler doesn't repay the trust that the team has in him by kicking 3 goals and having a close to best on ground performance, he's got to look in the mirror, and he'll be at risk of not playing against Sydney if he doesn't kick at least a couple of goals and lay some tackles in that forward line. Stuart's asking, do you think we'll end up with AFL in Melbourne soon? Well, we got it on Saturday. I don't know what's going to happen after that. It really just depends on cases and what the government announces. Obviously, we've got a week lockdown, which is shit. So I'll be at home watching the game. Would have been good to go anyway, but we're so used to it after last year. And to be honest, with the form that the club's shown, I'm actually glad I don't have to drive in and deal with people yelling shit at the players and the opposition supporters getting in my ear about how shit we are. I'm just glad I'll be able to watch it on the couch, comfort of my own home, have a glass of wine, and hopefully see the boys get back to the 2020 form that got us in a really good position and got us all excited about 2021. Hopefully we can rewind the clock and get that form back. JD is saying, I hope they haven't made these changes based on the fact that they think it's just going to happen against North. Look, surely after last week and the previous 3 or 4 thumpings we've copped, they know that they can't afford to take North lightly. No doubt, absolutely no doubt. North are looking at this game thinking, hey, they're pretty soft. We're not the most skilled team, but I don't think we have to be. I think we just need to tackle St Kilda, and they're going to fold. That's what teams have done against us. They've just brought the heat. That's it. And we're just like, oh shit, handball out of bounds. We don't want to take the tackles. This week, no matter what North throw at us, it's not going to be the most skilled game, but we know that North, with Cunnington, he's just going to smash into our blokes. They're going to try and intimidate us. We're a very timid team at the moment. And that's why I think it's really important that players, even like as young as he is and as inexperienced as he is, someone like Jack Bytel is a big body. He throws his weight around. He pushes blokes. He would go to head-to-head with Cunnington and say, mate, I know that you've got 200 games on me, but I'm going to chase you everywhere and you're not going to get an easy ball. Not like you used to against St Kilda. I'm going to make sure you earn it. But you drop someone like him, I know Dunstan's probably going to do, the same thing and throw his weight around, but to have both of them in there would have been great as well to support Steele and Crouch. But maybe they think that having Bytel, Ross, Dunstan, Steele, Crouch is too one-dimensional and they needed to mix it up. But I still think our midfield's a bit one-dimensional. That's why I thought maybe a Connolly or get Sinks in there, Just mix it up. We haven't even put Higgins in the midfield yet. And all off-season I was saying I'm excited that Higgins will be able to rotate forward mid. We're not even trying him in the midfield. And whether that's because that was going to be with Gresham in the team and we've lost Gresham so we can't afford to lose Higgins in the forward line, I don't know. But we're not getting enough of the ball on the outside in the middle. And obviously we're not kicking enough goals anyway. So you're rob Peter to pay Paul in that situation. But we've got to mix it up at some point, I feel. Alice says, I thought Leo Connolly would have been called up this week. Yep, I agree, same. Thought he was a chance. Why do we need such a tall backline against the Roos? That's from Alan. Let's look at the Roos forward line. So they've got Zerha, who's not tall, but he's big and he's a good mark. Larkey, who's quite tall. You've got Garner, who can get up and about. And then obviously at times you think that maybe a Todd Goldstein will rest forward. I'm saying that that's probably why we're going tall. And then you've got, You've got Taron Thomas, who's not the tallest bloke, but he can leap. They've got some players there that can test us in the air. So I think it's okay to have a few talls there, particularly because they're the more mobile intercepting type of talls, because they can play medium-sized and tall, and they're good beneath their feet. Heimel's very good at ground level. Caulfield, if he brings his form of last season, he's very good at ground level as well as being a very good mark as well. So I think, our backline you'd think, would be able to cope with whatever North dish up. And we don't have to worry about Ben Brown. He's gone to Melbourne. So he's always one that always dominates us, and all the bad losses we've had against North in recent years, he's been a big part of it, as well as Ben Cunnington. So one's down, we need to do something with Cunnington, whether we tag him or Seb Ross just goes head-to-head with him. Let Jack Steele run off and do his own thing, and have Seb Ross just say, mate, you go to him. Or even Luke Dunstan, give him the job and say, mate, you've dominated VFL level, now you need to tag one of the best inside mids in the comp in Ben Cunnington and take him out of the game and help us win by doing that. So maybe that's a good way for Dunstan to ease back into AFL level. Give him a simple task and say, take on this guy. Don't let him leave your sight, So that could be a good message for Dunstan. Dara Joyce was serviceable when he played. That's from Sam. I agree. To be honest, I thought maybe he would have been a chance this week too, with Frawley going out, but with Clavanero coming in, Caulfield coming in, as well as Heimel retaining his spot, I think it was only, it was going to be too hard to bring Joyce in. But he has been good, so no doubt he's going to hopefully stay on the list and give us more support. He's only 24, so he'll get his chances again. Damus says, Paul Bytel, he will be another lost star if we don't give him the credit he deserves. I agree, we need to be getting games into these sort of guys. He's had a good stretch. I think he's played, 12 or 13 games in his career. He's played about 5 or 6 this season. Burns has played the last 4 or 5 now, so he's getting a good run. Whether Bytel needed a rest, I don't know, but you just feel like he only played 50% last week. There was no way he was going to be tired and needing a rest this week. And I feel like this would have been the sort of game that he's like, great, I played against some really good midfields in the last couple of weeks in Geelong, in Bulldogs, and he's done well. This is the one of the weakest midfields in the competition, where he could really go into this game and have a NAB Rising Star nomination type game and get 30 possessions and kick a goal. But we've taken that chance away from him now, so it's on to Burns. Hopefully, I thought Burns was stiff not to get the nod last week. The Bulldogs player did, and that's fair when his team wins by 100 points and he kicks 2 goals. But Burns had 24 disposals and had a game-high 12 marks. I think that if he follows that up this week, there's a chance he'll get a NAB Rising Star nomination. And, I think it's only a matter of time until that happens. He's looking very good, Ryan Burns. Toddy's saying, I'm hearing there's unrest between players and the coach. Any idea on that one? Judging by all the footage that the club's released this week, particularly the one with Clav getting a debut, I don't think so. I think it's just that everyone's so out of form, and when you're out of form, you start questioning yourself. You start questioning whether the coach is doing the right thing by you and playing you in the right positions, and the game plan's working for everyone. There's a lot of questions. There's more questions than answers, and I feel like that's probably what the unrest is. I wouldn't say it's a personal thing where they don't like each other. I would just say they're all very upset that the club's in the position that they're in after having such promising form last year, and I guess a bit of expectation leading into this year and not fulfilling it just yet. But there is still time. We're 4-6. A lot of people have said we're done. I'm not saying that yet. So hopefully you guys don't think that. If we win the next 3 and go to the bye at 7-6, you don't know, who knows what can happen after that. You get Rowan Marshall back. Hanbury might be fit by then, fingers crossed. A lot can change. We've turned shit very fast, but it can also turn good very quickly as well. It's happened for a lot of other teams. It can happen for us as well if we work hard enough to make that change and force it to happen. It's not going to just magically happen overnight. We need to get that momentum back. Gary says, coaching staff soft, shows me they can't make the hard decisions, chose the easy way out. Butler and Ross are very lucky, should have been out of the team weeks ago, especially Ross. I can tell you that Joycey on the podcast definitely agrees with you there, Gary. I thought it was touch and go for Ross, but Butler was the one that I really thought they could have made an example of, and they missed that chance. unless they've really gotten in his ear and said, mate, if you don't deliver this week, you're out. But they should have made that call weeks ago anyway, so it's a questionable one, to say the least. Douglas says Saints long odds to win is not good, likely to turn up thinking it's a sure win. It's not so sure the way they're going. We don't just look back at round 1 last year, guys. The week before, lockdown was announced. No crowds were announced. We got 5 goals up in that game, coasting. We cough up the lead, they win. Cunnington goes berserk and we lose that game. And we all think, here we go, another shit season. And then it turns around and we learn from it. But it's the same thing again, except our form is worse. And we've got injuries. Marshall's not playing. It's gonna be a tough one. If we go out there and win by 10 goals, I'll be very surprised. That's what I want to happen. Like the Hawthorn game, I just want it to be 4 quarters of really good footy and we just push them aside. But you don't have that confidence that it's going to happen, and it's definitely not going to happen on a consistent basis. But this needs to start now. We need to make an example of North and show that we're not at that level. If we win and we win by 1 or 2 goals and it's a grind, it shows we deserve to be in the position we're in, outside the 8 in the bottom 4, bottom 5. But if we smash them, it shows we've got more in the tank than we've shown. And hopefully that gives us some confidence, gives us some momentum. We can go into the Sydney game next week and then the Adelaide game with a bit of confidence to hopefully get a couple more wins before the bye. Because that's the key. Just the next 3 weeks at the very least, win 3 games, win some trust back within the playing group, within the coaches, and more importantly within us fans. We need to learn we need to feel that trust again. We don't trust our team, do we? We don't know what they're going to dish up. So when you don't know what your team's going to dish up, how can you trust them to deliver every week? And fact is, we can't. So until they win the next couple, well, I don't think we've won more than 2 in a row this year. It'd be good to start in the next 3 weeks to get to the bye on a positive note and then hit the ground running against Richmond and Collingwood after the bye. North are playing a lot better than us at the moment. That's from Gary. They are probably, and they lost by 12 goals last week, and they lost by 5-6 goals less than us. So that pretty much just says it there. Andrew says, there you go, taking another team for granted again. Right now, the Roos' effort and skills will flog us. We deserve it. Roos by 45. I'll tell you now, if Roos win at all, let alone by 45 points, there are going to be some serious melts on the review on Saturday night. I can tell you that. And I don't think I'll be the only one melting. I think there's going to be a lot of people in the comments losing their shit. We lost it last week. We've lost our shit many times this season. But if we lose to North, I don't know. That's unforgivable. They're the worst team in the comp by a long shot. You know, we've been shocking, but they've been worse. So if we lose this, we're going to look at Ratton in a very different light. We're going to look at our players in a very different light. But yeah, we need to treat this like a final. I know it's not. And the players probably know it's not, but we just need to treat it like a final. They need to think that if we don't win this game, that we don't play AFL ever again, because the rest of the season will be meaningless if we know we've lost to North. And North are going to treat it the same way. They know that this is 4 points they can get. Out of all teams in the comp, this would be the one game they would look at in the fixture right now and think, they're in as bad a form as us, if not worse. This is a chance we can get a win. And they've done it the last 3 times. They've towered us up the last 3 times. So this is a big test for us. Just even mentally, just to go into a game knowing we're heavy favourites and actually win. Because when we're heavy favourites, we suck. When we're underdogs, we're all right. Apart from last week, we've won most of our games being underdogs and struggling when we're favourites. So we're back to being favourites. Let's see if we can handle it. Yeah, exactly. Kale's saying this could be doom if we go down this week. Most at stake for our club for sure this weekend. Exactly. Our club's got the most at stake most weeks now because the microscope's on us. The media are all over us. You forget that North are so bad because every article on the AFL website, on the couch on Fox Footy, AFL 360, they all just talk about how bad we are. North are getting off scot-free. Collingwood are getting off easier because of how bad our form is. So we need to change that narrative. Yeah. D-Mac would have shown some heart on the weekend. That's from Cam. I agree, mate. D-Mac's one player that's shown heart every time he's played this season. Whether his form's good or bad, you know he's chasing hard, he's throwing his body on the line, he's doing his best for the team, for the red, white and black. Unfortunately, he was injured a couple of weeks ago, I think, or he injured his thigh, I think, at training. So I don't know how far away he is, but yeah, you doubt he's a chance in the next couple of weeks. But if he was fit, it would have been good to see him back. Greg's asking, this is an interesting one. You think there's even the slightest chance we're tanking this year, maybe to help with the Ben King purchase? Now, it's crossed my mind. Watching the game last week against the Dogs, deep in the last quarter, I was thinking, no, we're throwing this game. We're throwing games at the moment. We're winning one week, showing form, just to keep the tanking talk off, but then we go and we tank. And I'm like, surely our club, after all the shit our club's done for the fans, for the AFL, we've done some stupid things in our history, whether it's, just individual players just doing stupid things off field or on field, the club making silly decisions, drafting, trading, financially, all that. This would take the cake. Surely, we're not going out there telling the boys we need a first round pick, we need to get our draft hand high. We can't afford to finish too high on the ladder because then we can't get Ben King. There's no way that conversation has happened. Surely not. That would make no sense. I know other teams have admitted. Melbourne did it, I believe, a couple of years ago. Carlton's probably done it for most of their last 20 years of being irrelevant in the AFL. Surely we're not doing that. But the fact that that's a possibility, that we even are considering that as a possibility, shows how bad our form is, that we don't believe we're actually that bad. We believe that our players are just deliberately missing goals, deliberately not chasing, not tackling, not talking, not giving us stuff when it comes to game day, but happily picking up their paycheck and going home and spending it on fancy cars and homes and whatnot. I don't really want to believe that. If that ever becomes news and that's true, I'll be disgusted and I will not be going to a game anytime soon. But I really don't believe that's the case, and that's just us trying to find more reasons outside of the fact that maybe it's just we're just playing shit at the moment. We're just in really bad form. We're playing the worst football of any team in the comp, and we just need to find little bits and pieces to put together to find our form back. Whether that's just kicking straight this week, or laying a lot of tackles, or just getting a good disposal efficiency. A few, Clever coming in and having a really good game and getting the positive vibes going within the playing group. There's just little wins that we need to get in this game outside of just the 4 points. Obviously the 4 points is very important. That's the number one priority, but we want to get other things along the way. If we get 4 points, but we still don't feel excited, the players aren't talking, then they didn't lay that many tackles and they just got the win because North are really shit, then I'll still be worried. But if we are clearly switched on, we're laying tackles, we're bumping, we're talking, we're yelling at each other, we're pointing, we're cheering each other, clapping each other, after goals and celebrating the little wins in the game, whether it's a good tackle or a good mark or a smother. That's the stuff I want to look at. And if we're doing that, then I'll be happy. So, I think that's all we ask for most weeks, isn't it? We don't really go into games expecting wins because we're Saints fans and we naturally don't. But we go to games expecting that they're going to play for the jumper. They're at least going to do their best to make us proud, and they've only done it a handful of times this year. So hopefully, starting on the weekend against the bottom team, we can find some form and get that going. I might leave it there, guys. It's a bit of a long one tonight. In a nutshell, I'm a bit disappointed about the ins and outs. I'm excited to see Clav and Koff back. And obviously Dunstan and Mason Wood have been rewarded with very good VFL form. Clark, I think it's a cover-up a little bit. I think Loney and Vitell are the two stories out of this. Why are they dropped? Particularly Vitell. There's no reason why he shouldn't be playing against North out of all teams. He's learned from playing against very good midfields. This would have been a good game for him to really go at it and run off his opponents and be damaging, as opposed to being, he's been a bit more on the defensive side in the last couple of weeks. And even highlights, there's vision of AFL experts showing our mids, goal side, not goal side, attacking side of the Bulldogs players last week, hoping the ball would just come out and go the other way. But the only two players to be on defensive side to have any sort of game awareness was Ryan Burns and Jack Bytel. And now that shows me he's not just a good player, he actually has a game understanding. He knows how the game works, and he's a very smart footballer on top of his very good skills at such a young age. And the fact that our senior players are not doing that, and they get rewarded this week, and he doesn't, and he gets dropped, I don't know. Question marks. I'd love to see if anyone asks Rats in the post-game, if we do lose, why would you drop someone like Bytel in a game like this? You could have used his good kicking, So I'll leave it there, guys. A bit disappointed with the ins and outs, but hopefully when I'm back on Saturday night for the review, we're not disappointed when talking about a good win. But I've said that many times this season. That's irrelevant. Just bloody turn up, boys. That's all we want. Just turn up. The crowd's not there. Would not surprise me if we start kicking straight, we start playing better without the pressure of our fans watching us, in the crowd. Because I feel like after a year of being in Noosa and without the fans there, it took pressure off our shoulders and we were able to play attacking football. We were playing with a bit more flair. And that was the sort of Saints footy we were expecting this year and we didn't get it. So whether that's a factor, I don't know. I think that's a pretty piss poor reason for bad form. But, we've got to find reasons. But hopefully on Saturday night we're talking about more of the answers and we're finding answers after the result and not more questions and issues. So until Saturday night, guys, take care. Have a good Friday. Obviously, stay safe with all the COVID crap. Wear a mask when you can, indoors, outdoors, whatever you're doing. Wash your hands, do all that stuff. And wherever you watch the game on Saturday, hopefully wear the red, white, and black proud. And you're cheering the boys on. And we get back here and talk about a win on Saturday night. But until then, guys, take care. Appreciate you guys watching. Go Saints.